Alright guys, TacticalRab again today. Hope you're all doing well and enjoying your day so far. Big drama going down last night as ZooMaa reveals that a current CDL coach of one team or another made the claim when ZooMaa retired back in 2021 with some injury that actually that was not true at all. The ZooMaa was retiring either because he just wasn't good enough anymore or because he wanted to move into content and do other things instead. ZooMaa understandably disrespected by this statement. Which coach could he potentially be talking about here? Very much intrigued to your thoughts in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I'd greatly appreciate it. First of all, though, a massively exciting, potentially, story here in the COD world here coming around, that there's looking to be a PC version of COD Mobile expected in the near future. So, if you guys have ever played COD Mobile, it's kind of like a best of COD. You guys might remember, actually, there was something called COD Online, was it? That was maybe just in the Chinese region or something like that a few years ago, and that was kind of like a best of COD on PC. But they brought out a similar thing for COD Mobile, where you've got all the best guns, all the best maps, which is the fun part, and, you know, from COD history. And I'm not going to lie, watching the COD Mobile World Championships, just watching COD Mobile, it's a better experience sometimes than what we've played for the last couple of years. Now, sure, it's a mobile game at the end of the day. It would be great, I think, if we had a version of this for the PC, and what would effectively be Call of Duty, and that is the Call of Duty, you know, that is the game that lasts the test of time. Now, this is what I wonder about it, because COD Mobile has done extraordinarily well for Activision, you know, the microtransactions, all this type of stuff, and maybe with Microsoft coming in, there's a thought to like, okay, do we need to make a new COD every single year? Can we have one COD that is updated very regularly, but is the Call of Duty game that survives in the same way that, you know, Counter-Strike Global Offensive is kind of gone, and now Counter-Strike 2 is here, and I imagine from Valve's point of view, that is going to be the eternal Counter-Strike in the same way that, you know, Dota 2 or Team Fortress 2 have kind of been their eternal games, at least that seems to be the plan. Counter-Strike 2 might be in a similar boat. Maybe Microsoft also think, alright, we can have one COD forever, and it can be a best of. Whether there would also be other CODs coming out at the same time, I don't know, but to me this is a great idea, because we could have all the best guns, all the best maps. The maps are the big one, you know, for competitive play, the maps are always the big one, because we always struggle with this every single year, and the fact that you could have, you know, Raid and Standoff, this of course is Standoff and Black Ops 2 and all the other good maps in the game, it's just a great time. Whether this is any good, whether they do this on console as well, exactly what the future of this would be, and also whether would competitive stay on this? Because at the end of the day, the reason why the competitive scene in some respects moves game to game every year is because, you know, the esports is an advertising, you know, arm, I suppose, of the businesses to promote the game itself. So there's never, let's say when Infinite Warfare was released and there was Modern Warfare Remastered, they were never really going to be playing MWR because Infinite Warfare was released and therefore that was the games, that was the one they're going to be playing. Although there was some calls to actually play MWR because that was released at the same time. That was never really going to happen. We're never going to have a season going back to play Black Ops 3, like, you know, just as an example game that I've just come up with for no reason at all, because that's how things currently sit. But if this was to become like the eternal COD in some ways, then potentially that would be what the competitive scene would be based on, and I think that'd be pretty fantastic. But, you know, it's very early days. I don't know how involved Microsoft are with these decision makings, or whether this is something that, you know, Activision were cooking up before Microsoft have kind of come in, but definitely interesting to keep your eyes on. Now, a funny clip was going around as well from Formal here. We know that Formal and Ben, well, Formal and a couple of other pro players have had their frustrations with Ben, because this was when they did the tier list of the retired pros. Ben's in the background giving his thoughts and saying that people are going to be annoyed with his rankings, all this type of stuff, and Formal and I think Dashy have probably been the two players that have kind of come at Ben or disagreed with Ben on things the most. Dashy and Ben have kind of made up now, right? We saw that over the last year or so. Formal and Ben, maybe not quite as much, because, well, Formal basically comes out and says, look, Ben, you have no idea what you're talking about, you never played the game.
Let's put some respect on
Maybe in the middle. Put him in the middle.
Hold on.
Put him in the middle for now.
Hold on.
Listen, people in the comments are going to complain about how I rank people.
How I rank people. Dude, you didn't play! What do you mean, bro?
Oh my.
What the f do you mean?
Now, if we're talking like,
I know my peers are gonna be pissed at me. I know it's kind of AIDS, guys. I think everyone was really good in their own right, but you just, it's, you know what I mean? It's gotta be right. Like, you didn't play.
Ben, are you better than him or are you worse?
Bro, we're putting Moch behind two.
no, Moch is not D though. Moch is not D.
It's too quick D.
He might be.
You should have just been here to co-sign everything.
And we did see similar things before with Dashy and Ben as well, when, Ben would talk about Dashy's work ethic and other stuff like this, and then Dashy might not be so happy about that, because Ben wasn't a pro player, he doesn't shoot especially straight when he downloads and plays the game, neither do, many of us, myself included, that actually talk about this game on a regular basis. Doesn't mean that we have no idea what we're talking about. I think there's definitely a difference, right, between if you played pro play, you understand things on a different level to if you haven't. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be a pro to have decent opinions as far as I'm concerned. I know there was talk about this recently because, well, there's been plenty of, English football managers who were fantastic players in their day, such as, the following, but they, since becoming a coach, football manager, have not been quite on the same level. And actually, Daryl commented on this at the start of January, that the argument that you have to have been a player to understand the game is paradoxical. It's nonsense. The same way rookies learn the game, others can too. Sure, mechanically and awareness in the movement is way harder, but you can still learn the macro intention, gold nuance or something, whatever you want to say. And I think it's the case for many sports that some of the best analysts are not necessarily former players. Does that mean Ben's a good analyst? That's a question you guys might want to ask. But I don't think that is necessarily mutually exclusive. This, though, was the big drama on ZooMaa, talking about his, retirement, his thumb injury, and everything that was associated with that. So there was a couple of jokes being thrown around about, okay, ZooMaa never actually retired because his thumb was injured, he retired because he was just washed or whatever the case is. But ZooMaa says that actually that explanation was, believed by at least one player, potentially player, who is now a current CDL coach. Now, the individual in question may not have been a player before, although, when I share this clip, just read between the lines a little bit and try and think exactly what type of person ZooMaa might be talking about, because to me it kind of feels like he's talking about maybe one of the more well-known coaches that's potentially a former player, but I guess it's kind of difficult to say. But also, the players involved, even Pred says that he believes that he knows who it is, which might narrow down the options to some degree on which coach you might be talking about. But if you guys don't remember the story, back in 2021, just as that season was about to kick off, ZooMaa announced in a shock announcement that he was going to retire from competitive Call of Duty. This was the tweet at the time. He did the twit longer as well, which said the following: the hardest thing I've ever had to write, but I've struggled with weakness in my thumb and wrist and needed surgery. It's caused a lot of stress and anxiety, and he's not able to be confident that he'll be able to compete at the highest level against the best players in the world. I don't enjoy competing when I can't be the ZooMaa everybody knows and loves, and I feel like it's not fair to myself or to my team to go through all of that again, potentially causing more damage to my hand as well. So that was the announcement at the time. It was a shock, of course, to the community. It's pretty rare, really, especially in the esports world, that players retire from injury, but because it happens obviously in regular sports. It's one of the most common reasons, if not the most common reason, why players end up stepping away from one reason or another, mainly because they get older, they get injured, and then they decide, well, it probably doesn't make sense anymore to continue, can't play at the level that I used to be able to. Pretty rare in esports, but in ZooMaa's case it was, and it's of course very sad, right? He has to step away from that Subliners team, then Asim comes in, and HyDra's there, and Diamond Card and Clayster, and they worked a few iterations of that roster, and it was a pretty good roster right in the end with Clay on the team. But ZooMaa could have been there, like ZooMaa, HyDra, SMG duo would have been a lot of fun, as I imagine that's probably how it would have eventually gone, because HyDra, of course, it wasn't that long after until it became clear that he's very good. But people knew that ZooMaa was having these issues for a long time. I mean, even here's FaZe tweeting this out. I don't know what year exactly this is. Yeah, here we go. So June 2017. Fair few years before he retired. This is during the Infinite Warfare season, of course. Only right we saw an award winner to treat our award winner. Thank you, Dr. Tan, for getting our guy right. And we can see in the background, like, Institute for Hand and Arm Surgery. And we know that ZooMaa had, a few of these things done, and we can actually see the plaster on his wrist as well on the left-hand side. So, this would be quite an expensive and quite a, in some ways, maybe traumatic thing to make up when ZooMaa went to the effort of, to sell the story that he had this injury. He went to the effort of having all this surgery and meeting this guy and all this type of stuff. So, there's no way the ZooMaa's making this up. But, obviously the guy in question, whoever we're talking about here, presumably also knew that ZooMaa did have this injury, but I guess maybe his question was whether that was actually what was causing the retirement in the first place. So I'll show the clip here.
And, you didn't, that thumb thing was a made-up thing. You were just ass. That's why you had to retire.
You think so? I probably was. I just dog shit. Nah, people were actually saying that.
That's what I'm saying.
I thought you were kidding when you told me.
Nah, there's a current coach in the league that said that.
Can you stop trolling me?
A current coach in the league said that?
So
yeah, and I've looked at him differently ever since.
That's insane.
And I've
Nice
never said
stunning,
anything.
bro.
And I've never said anything to him. I've never said anything to him. I've just
Call him
always,
out.
I've
Yo,
just
who is
always,
it, Tom? Who is it?
always let it linger. You know what I'm saying? Just always let. Nah, because I don't want to cause problems for the guy who told me.
Microphone
You know what I
muted.
mean? So
Someone
I
in the
just
chat said it was Crowder.
You know,
Microphone
no, it's not
activated.
Crowder. Absolutely not.
Wait. What?
Nah.
I know who it is.
now
I
it's
know.
down.
I know who it is. I know who it is.
You know who it is, bro?
Yeah.
You
I
know
think
who
I
it
do
is?
too.
No, obviously it wasn't Crowder. He says it was me, but you know, clearly they get on very well. And ZooMaa, to be fair, gets on. I would say gets along as people in. This is the thing. You guys roast me for saying gets on. In the UK, gets along is like gets on and gets along are kind of used interchangeably. But whatever. So ZooMaa seems to get along with a probably majority of the coaching staff. Like generally, the community is pretty tight knit. I imagine ZooMaa gets along pretty well with most of the coaches. Crowder, of course, most certainly included. So that kind of rules him out. Rules out any of the FaZe guys, obviously, and it narrows down the list somewhat. Because to be fair, of the coaches that we currently have, there aren't that many that have been around a fair bit of time. So this is the list of current coaches, and well, what do we think? So it's not going to be Crowder. Boston, we've got Zed and Josh over there. I don't really expect it to be either of them. I don't know how close they've been to ZooMaa over the years, because it sounds to me like it's someone that either, you know, ZooMaa competed against or knew for some time, and therefore, you know, it's not some outsider. It seems like it's hurt ZooMaa to some degree, right? Because this person has said that he, you know, was either just washed or something and therefore he decided to retire, or he did it because, you know, wanted to just do content and sit on the bench and have an easier life. I don't buy any of those ideas, and I can understand why ZooMaa feels massively disrespected, it seems at least, by the, well, opinions of this individual, whoever it might potentially be. And maybe they've changed their mind now, changed their opinion now. But at the time, apparently, that's what they said, and therefore it kind of lives on in the memory. So either that's someone who was a player at the time and is now a coach, that would be kind of my read on the story, or maybe they retired already, I don't know. But I feel like it's doubtful that it's Zed or Josh. Also, like Vioz on the Gorillas, he's not been around very long, so I don't think it can be him. It's definitely not MettalZ of the Miami Heretics, and you know, Flux or Joe, unlikely either. Is it Karma of OpTic? That feels kind of doubtful to me. So, yeah, it leaves a few options here. Brian Saint on Carolina. I know lots of people have been saying it's Saint. I'm not exactly sure why people have come to that conclusion. Maybe it's because people are trying to read into the lines of, well, you know, who's the guy that told ZooMaa about this? Because is it someone like close to ZooMaa who told him about a coach saying something? And maybe they even weren't a coach at the time. I don't know. Saint was a coach at the time. But I don't know if there's any more evidence of that than just pure speculation, really. So, frankly, I don't know. Like, I guess I could, you know, probably guess, but I don't know if it's worth doing so. I think on the Vegas side, it's possible. I also think that JCap is one of the candidates people have been throwing around, and I can kind of get that. So I don't know what you guys think. Rambo, of course, as well, but that feels somewhat unlikely that Rambo would be the kind of character. I don't know. But what do you guys think? Because it's kind of fascinating. I think we can look at this list and narrow it down somewhat to probably, you know, maybe 3 or 4 that are the most likely. But going any further from that, I think would be a bit of a leap, really. Unless ZooMaa goes on to say about this a little bit further, or whether we get any further information. But yeah, definitely intrigued to hear your thoughts in the comment section below, because quite the remarkable story, to be honest. Just before we close out, I wanted to mention this. MCW classes, some updated ones. We have them now on the Break and Work website if you guys want to check out. I saw this phenomenal meme as well yesterday, given we were talking about, well, we weren't even talking about Black Ops 3 earlier, but like I made us talk about Black Ops 3, which is kind of how we do it. But have a look at this, right? I mean, this is a quality meme right here. 46,000 likes. So, you know, I'm not alone, you know. And just one final thing, if I forget to mention it this weekend, it was the almost 1 year anniversary of the whole Dashy Rambo thing. This, I just happened to stumble across this on January the 13th, 2023, which is pretty much a year ago now, right? When this whole, you know, Ray bowling thing was going down. But very much enjoyed your thoughts on all this stuff in the comment section below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.